Ross Coulthart has just delivered yet another UAP whistleblower, this time a nuclear security guard who detailed some anomalous events at Bases Area 2. Now, this is arguably one of the biggest testimonies that we've had in recent times with regards to Ross Coulthart, because there is a hell of a lot that gets dived into, or dived into, whatever the tense is for that one. Before we get into it, be sure to drop a like and subscribe, and I'll be keeping you up to date as best I can on the UAP topic. But let's talk about this. So, like I said, right, this is quite significant because down here on the little captions or chapters part, it's quite a big deal because there's a lot that they speak about. There's obviously nuclear security, what does that entail? But the key points that we are keen on here is the anomalous bright light, which of course is the first encounter, a disc crash, 2 lights, the first humanoid shadow being, the second humanoid shadow being, and not only that, but the third humanoid being. And then they talk about UAP in bunkers and the FBI response. So not only here are we talking about a UAP, but we're also talking about humanoid figures. Now, obviously, I'm not going to play the entire interview, but be sure to go over to News Nation and you can check out this episode for yourself because it's highly, highly interesting. So, first of all, we're obviously going to talk about the situation in its entirety. So, long story short, right, he catches wind of this, bright light. And then this is what happens afterwards. Take a little listen to this.
It was a little disturbing for me because somehow I completely forgot about this incident, and I don't know how I could have forgotten because it was so obvious. It was right over my head. And when we talked, you got in contact with Robert Hastings, who I had originally talked to shortly after I had separated. Um, so I can't explain how I could have forgotten about this, but as soon as you showed me what I had told Mr. Hastings, I remembered the incident. Um, I was on the alert fire team, which was stationed at the alternate security control center, and we were outside. A few of the guys smoked, so we were outside with them, kind of joking and just hanging out. One of the other patrols was there, so it was a total of 6 people outside. And I remember that the guy that I'm facing, we're talking, joking about something, and he kind of looks up above my head, and his eyes just go wide. And as soon as that happens, I kind of turn my head to look over my shoulder. And as I'm turning my head, I see this reddish glow that kind of approaches on the ground. And I crank my head up just in time to spot this. I mean, I hate to say it, but it was a classic flying disc shaped object. I don't think that it was physically on fire. It was almost like this almost like magma type glow was wrapped around the front of it, and that was what was illuminating the ground underneath it. But it was flying maybe 200 to 300 feet above our heads, very low. And as it approached and came over us, it actually deadened sound wherever it moved. Like the natural sounds of like the building right next to us, the desert, other patrols in the distance, they got very faint, almost like when you stick your head underwater. And as soon
Is
as
there
they
any noise
cleared,
from the object at all? Do you hear anything like a propeller or a jet or a turbine?
nothing like that. A little bit of a hum, but I don't like I don't know if it was the object creating the hum or maybe its interaction with the atmosphere.
Now, let's not beat around the bush here. This is a craft, a solid physical craft of some kind, breaching the airspace over what is probably one of the most sensitive facilities in the United States, if not the world. This is where thermonuclear weapons are stored. Describe what happens.
So the object came right overhead, and you could tell it was losing altitude because it was dipping down lower as it came and passed over us. As soon as it was clear of us, that's when sound returned and you could hear everything normal. We immediately got on the radios. By the time we got the first radio call out, the object had cleared the perimeter fence line and it seemed to go behind this area that we call the bluffs, which is what kind of blocked us from view from the rest of the desert. And once it went down behind the bluffs, there was a massive flash of like orangish reddish light, and it was so big that all of us kind of braced ourselves, because we honestly thought whatever this thing is, it's just crashed, and like it's such a huge explosion, we're gonna get knocked off our feet.
How big was
And
the object?
I'm a little hesitant because at nighttime and you don't have a good reference, I estimated it was 200 to 300 feet above our heads. If that estimate is right, and I'm fairly confident that I'm right about that, I would say it's about 45 to 50 feet across. So it
Wow.
was a good size object.
I mean, that's a significantly large object that is literally flying overhead, allegedly distorting audio, like literal physical audio from the planet, and then crashing. So, obviously, that's with regards to the to the crash itself. He goes on to talk about some other light anomalies that take place. But what's really caught my attention, especially, is these humanoid figures or shadows. Now, this is weird because obviously we are aware of the grey aliens and, you know, reptilian lizards and all the rest of it, right? But this is quite significant. So let's have a little listen to the description of this, because this is one of 3 humanoid shadowy things that were allegedly seen.
To get where things start getting very interesting. Let's talk about the shadow beings.
So there's the main incident that I know you want to discuss, but there was a history of people spotting these shadowy figures. We spotted one early on to when I was first out there. I actually shone a spotlight on it because we thought it was our flight chief watching us carry out an exercise. And I shone a spotlight on it to identify him. And when I did, it just disappeared as soon as the light hit him. And I mean, there was 16 of us that saw that happen.
How do you know it was there?
So that specific time, we were carrying out an assault and recapture exercise at the maintenance plants where they would do maintenance on the weapons. And our flight chief usually would go out into the desert and kind of get on a bit of high ground so he could oversee everything and see how we were handling the situation. He called exercise terminate. And then once he did, we basically fell into formation in front of the maintenance plants. And right in front of us is a row of 4 buildings that were used way back in the day. When I was there, they were only used for storage. And one of the buildings on the far right used to be an old chow hall. And there was a ladder that you could take to climb up on top of it. So as we're sitting there waiting, we spot this figure pacing back and forth on the top of the old chow hall. And
Now,
we immediately assumed...
these are they're half like a 44-gallon drum. They're like half of a 44-gallon drum, aren't they? They're what do you describe those buildings? I've forgotten what you call them, but essentially it's a curved building, isn't it?
The maintenance plants, yeah, I forget what that design is called. Yeah, the maintenance plants and then the bunkers are. These were just sort of normal, small buildings.
So they were flat
very
roofed.
small. Yeah, they were flat roofed.
Okay. And what do you see? Where is this figure standing?
So this figure would have been from where I was standing a good 40 meters away, which is relatively close. And it's pacing back and forth on the top of the roof at the front.
And how do you see it? Because you told me earlier that you had to shine a light on it. So this is in darkness. How do you know it was there? What did you actually see?
So it was solid black figure, and you could see it very clearly because the entire perimeter is lit up. And when the clouds are low, it throws that light up, and you can see it silhouetted up against that light. It was not hazy. It was very clearly seen. Humanoid. I mean, we assumed it was our flight chief. We were so confident it was our flight chief that we started calling to him.
Clothed?
Can't tell any details like that. I mean, it was pure black, and we couldn't tell any details like that.
Height?
I would have estimated if that was a real person, and because I had carried out so many operations right there in that area, I know it very well. I would have estimated to be about 6 feet.
Right. So standard
I'm very confident in that.
tall male human height.
Mhm.
Did it look like it had the build of a male or a female?
Impossible to tell, but I mean, we assumed it was our flight chief. Like there was no, because it kind of looked like him a bit, like he was a bit lankier. Um, there was nothing like we didn't see it and thought it was anything strange.
So you shone a light on it and it disappeared. How many people saw that shadowy object?
It was 16 of us. 16 of us because we were all sitting there and we were calling to the figure, thinking it was our flight chief. And then when it wasn't responding, I took a spotlight from one of the other members, and then I turned it on. And as I cranked it up to the building, as soon as the light hit the legs, that's when it just disappeared.
And when you say it disappeared, it literally physically disappeared.
hmm It was there one moment, gone the next.
Did you go and have a look at the top of the building to see if there was any heat source or any marks on the top of the building?
So we went and looked. Nothing. I mean, yeah, not. There's a bit of gravel on top of that roof, um, and there was no indication that like somebody had been up there recently or anything.
Could it have been, I don't know, some kind of illusion? Could it have been a bird that for some reason looked like the shape of a human?
So no, it couldn't have been something natural that was projecting the shape of a human because it was too clear. We were all extremely convinced initially that this was our flight chief, a physical person. It couldn't have been a trick of the light, nothing like that. It was way too solid a figure, and there was nothing reflective around her or anything.
So that was the first of the shadow beings incidents that you.
So I'm going to stop it right there, obviously, because, you know, it's a very compelling testimony that is taking place here. And obviously the details are quite, you know, they're there. And like I said before, this is one of 3 alleged beings that were captured or witnessed, right? So the other 2, I'll just kind of quickly, briefly run over it. So the second incident was in 2006, and so 2 shadowy figures were detected inside the facility via thermals, reacting intelligently to evade capture. And they disappeared within seconds, leaving scuff marks and residual heat. So this is obviously a lot more compelling than the first time that they witnessed these beings, because there was a little bit more to work with. And then third incident, there was allegedly a 7 to 8 foot tall figure which ran about 30 foot per second between buildings, too fast for a human, and was not pursued as it was outside of the perimeter. 30 feet per second. Running at 30 feet per second. That is absolutely friggin' insane. Like, that literally puts Usain Bolt to shame. And then there was a bunker incident as well that took place. So something inside a secure, quote, black world bunker off limits to the to Shelton's team violently struck a 2-ton door after he checked a vent, indicating an unauthorized presence. And then there was animal mutilations as well from 2007 through to 2008. So 3 donkey carcasses were found with precise organ removal, eyes, tongues and stomachs, with no blood, ruling out animal predation. So obviously no predators about, okay? And Shelton personally witnessed one of the and saw photos of another. There was also security and reporting issues, so incidents were often not thoroughly investigated or reported due to a culture of stigma and a fear of ridicule, risking the PRP status of career damage. Shelton also noted a lack of significant response from his leadership, with some incidents dismissed, for example his colonel's response. Only major incidents require written statements, allegedly. And he believes this creates a security vulnerability, as adversaries could exploit the reluctance to report anomalous phenomena. Now, the FBI apparently were involved a little bit, so Shelton reported these incidents to the FBI, expressed concern about security vulnerabilities. He suspects that the Department of Defense and Department of Energy may know more about this phenomena but fail to act, possibly because they don't perceive them as potential threats. Obviously, it's a very, very interesting testimony. And what I like about this is the fact that we've not just got a testimony about a UAP, you know, like what we've had over Eglin Air Force Base and other nuclear facilities, but there was some shadowy things, right, captured, ranging from between 6 and 8 foot, and evading capture and running at allegedly 30 feet per second. Crazy stuff. What do you guys think of this? Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. While you're down there, jump to get the hell out of that like button and subscribe. And until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.